These two teams both need a win for different reasons. To begin discussing why that is, last week BD were defeated by NIP and Furia. On top of that, W7M lost to Liquid and MIBR.
E agora o GDN, sozinho no mundo, tomou fogo supressivo, é o Luke de quem fecha!
Timing could not be more important for the positions these teams are in on the table. W7M is hanging on to their spot in the league. And on the BD side, the desperation is not to remain in the BR6, but there is anxiety to find room in the top 6 and qualify for the Cobra Elite 6. All important for teams to earn prize money and crucial SI points. Moving towards a new chapter in the story, we have to look at the last meeting between Dragons and W7M.
A gente começou jogando consulado, foi ali bem disputado. A gente teve que tirar umas cartas da manga ali, eu tive que jogar um pouco mais agressivo, buscar um pouco mais o jogo. E aí eu consegui buscar a vitória, né? O MVP também foi meu.
Season passada a gente estava em reformulação de novo, né? Reformulação na BD, quem diria? Foi outro jogo que a gente tinha o game nas mãos e a gente não soube administrar isso bem e acabamos tomando a virada de novo, porque felizmente aquele console a gente atacou muito mal.
To make matters worse, Black Dragons also failed to defeat W7M in the first stage, when they were overcome 7-4, a sign that it was not just the circumstances of the moment that had weighed on
A máquina vai
BD.
encaminhando aquilo que queria, aquilo que precisa! E a SMG canta forte, canta alto e a vitória é da W7 Máquina pra cima da BD.
For today's clash, Coach Sayer has full confidence in the lineup as a whole, while W7M don't look apprehensive about the recent modifications to the Dragons roster.
Hoje todos conseguem desequilibrar, todos têm pontos fortes que conseguem implementar dentro do jogo e fazer com que o jogo fique mais fácil para nós, então acho que a rapaziada tem que estar preocupado com todos os 5.
Ultimamente a gente tá mais preocupado com a gente mesmo, em encaixar nosso jogo, em conseguir impor nosso jogo e pensar mais na gente mesmo.
Everything indicates that internal concerns will be at the forefront of these teams on the server. Which motivation will be the strongest? We're about to find out in the following match between Black Dragons and W7M.
G'day nerds and welcome back to live coverage of the BR6 here right tonight, joined by Gio and Ollie, and we're going to get stuck into our fourth and final match of today's play day. Of course, great to have your company here as we get across all the action out of Brazil. And look, a lot riding on this match for these two teams, and I'll explain why. We've got W7M at the moment at the bottom of the table in the cumulative league standings. They are desperate for wins because they are staring down the barrel of potential relegation. And a win here wouldn't guarantee them to avoid that, but it'd be the first step. Speaking of first steps, Black Dragons still have a shadow of a chance of appearing at the LATAM League finals. And if they are to do that, Ollie, that journey starts here and now against W7M. Let's have a look at the standings here. You can see they're right at the bottom, W7M, but Black Dragons, Ollie, in 7th. And if they want to improve that position, it starts with a win here against W7M.
It really does. Yeah, we've had the numbers run for us, and we've been assured that Black Dragons do have a very, very slim chance of actually making it into that 6th place spot. But it's by no means going to be an easy journey for them to make.
Certainly not. We're going to keep a close eye on them as the game begins. Gio, talk us through the map bans here and what you're expecting. These two teams towards the lower end of the league table here, and as we say, both of them desperate for wins. What are we going to see?
This is going to sound like really boring. I personally would like to see them on something like Oregon, but I think that W7M, they played that against Team Liquid. It didn't go very well. So maybe they're going to be feeling that they don't want to do that. Although it's still in. They could still end up going there. I feel like that would just be a really neutral place for them to go. The other option, of course, would be Chalet, which is quite at the different end of the spectrum, and I guess that's where they're going to be going. W7M lost to MIBR on Chalet. This is where they made a ton of really peculiar decisions with their operator bans and not bringing any hard breaches, which I really, really hope that they change for this game. Just looking for Black Dragons. Have they played Chalet this stage? I don't think they have. No, they have not. So this is going to be kind of fresh ground for them as far as stage 3 goes.
All right, well, we'll see if W7M have got some more experimental technologies to try out here, or if Black Dragons can come good on a map that they haven't got too much experience on in this stage here. Again, let's remind ourselves the stakes. Black Dragon on your screen. They are desperately seeking a way into the top 6 here, so they get a berth at the LATAM League finals. It doesn't look likely, but it begins here if they're going to get it. And as for W7M, well, look, we've seen upsets. You know, we've seen them go 8-7 overtime against Team 1. They are a team that can. So will they do it this time? We're going to find out. We're going to jump into the match as soon as things are ready. Down to Chalet with Black Dragons facing off against W7M in Stage 3. Both of them have only picked up a single win each. So they are looking to improve that. As you can imagine, relegation, a potential threat for W7M, while Black Dragons, as we've said, hunting down that spot at the LATAM League finals. Just waiting for final confirmation that the players are ready, and then we'll be off to the races with this match. And, Ollie, Gio mentioned some of the experimental or the peculiar picks that W7M were making last time they were here. Are you expecting something like that, or is it going to be a bit more orthodox this time around, do you think?
I think it'd be nice to sort of see that forgotten about and W7M to sort of just focusing on the game that they've got in front of them. I think we sort of categorized it as a little bit of a stubbornness last time that we saw W7M play on this map. So potentially there is a chance that they're not going to fall foul to those same tricks again. But of course, it is one of those circumstances where both of these two teams are really fighting for something right now. And you know, as unlikely as the scenario is that Black Dragons actually make it into the top 6, it starts here. And for W7M, as unlikely as it is that they aren't the team that are facing relegation battle at the end of the stage, you know, their battle starts here. So it really is, quite a significant game for both of these teams. In the larger sense of the standings, it doesn't have that much impact, but this is where these two journeys start right now, and both teams need to be on their A game.
And it's in matches like this, you know, where there's not the spotlight on this match, certainly when it comes to the standings, the seedings, all that sort of stuff in the traditional sense. But, you know, Gio, this is where sometimes you see the real magic. When you've got so much on the line for these individual players, they're playing to try to get themselves back into that spotlight. There's so much for them to prove here in this match. But look, it looks like the players are already getting stuck into the game. We're going to head down to Chalet. It is time for our 4th and final match here as part of coverage of Playday 7 here as the BR6 continues. Let's get underway with Gio and Ollie.
Thank you, Riley. We are headed back over to Chalet. It is where we saw Game 2 go down today, and it is where we will see our final game of the day head down as well. Black Dragons versus W7M. Kicking things off, Gio, with a Hibana ban. Something that certainly don't get to see all the time. Thatcher ban following that up. We go from something we don't regularly get to see to something we see all the time. Where will we go for the defenders? The Wamai is removed. Black Dragons taking that away. Nothing too earth-shattering here.
I want to see what the last one is. That's not fine. Boring bans today. I get it. These teams care too much about what they're... Look at these teams caring about their careers and wanting to stay in the tournament. What's that all about?
KD players, I heard.
I know. Disgusting. It's, as you say, pretty standard. Bar be the first site. W7M starting on defense, which I like to see. Means we have at least 6 rounds before we have to see something that I'm going to be horrified by. What is going on with these others? So we've got an ace. We don't have a Ying. What is Potoxi switching to? Lion. Oh, this is not the first time we've had a Lion Finker duo in this stage. So we're going full Chimera. I mean, why not? Big map. You want to know where everybody is? Send out that E1D.
We've certainly seen a lot less Finker this week as we did last. I think last week Finker was like a staple pick for everyone, and this week I can only really think of Resets that's played it a lot.
Yeah, it hasn't been as abundant. I don't hate it.
I enjoy it. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, I think it's quite fun. As I said last week, it reminds me of Q-Confirm would always play with a finger. I don't know if they still do, but they definitely used to when I was casting that region. Back in the day.
Well, we'll see how the Chimera duo fares, at least in this round. Black Dragon's starting off on the attack. Typically a lot of work to do. Early Lion Scan. Really not sure of the intended use on that one, but it's
To catch out roamers?
I mean, it's maybe going to allow Perez to get into Solar, but even then it's a bit of a stretch.
Well, either way, that's one down. 2 remaining after that. How far are W7M playing offside? Okay, you've got a couple of guys up in library, which is a good thing. But there's so much free space the Black Dragons can just walk through as they head through Piano here. Remember, teams used to really heavily, like, extend their defense up to Piano and oftentimes have someone there. You would have to do a real proper top floor clear if you wanted to attack onto this site.
Yeah, it just seems to be getting forced back further and further, and it can't really go any much further back than the stairs. You know, you've got that deployable shield at the top, and I think instead we've seen a lot more favoritism toward the top of Fireplace, the position that Herds is playing right now. That's really where we've seen more value gained for the defenders, and it's certainly working in this instance. It's taken a long time here for Black Dragons to see any significant inroad here. Live debating burning the drone on the laser gate. Still, players inside of the library and a mirror window that's going to be working for Herds looking back in. Great nade from Perez. That
right
was
to the noggin.
Yeah, that was like a laser, like playing dodgeball or something. He was seriously taken out by that one, and it's the start of a bit of a flood, really, because Patoxy is going to pick up a kill onto Panico. Guy drops back down into the site. FO12 doing the damage through the floor. Stops the flood for now. But still 35 seconds left to try and hold on here for W7M. GDN could be a big player here. That shotgun's going to shred if he's able to get close enough. Black Dragons are tentative now on the approach. Another nade lands and it will take out GDN. So that shotgun threat is nullified. But no one knows of Guy. Well, Bassetto seems to. It may have been sheer dumb luck, but he's actually been able to take him down as well. Herds making that rotation down the main stairs. Does get cut off on the flank. Toxie doing his job there, holding on to the bottom of the stairs, where it was the top he needed to be a bit more concerned of. Opening round there going to Black Dragons.
Well, there we go. That's a start. W7M going to have to pick up their defense a little bit. I mean, you know, yeah, it's Chalet. So you could find that these attackers just have a much easier time. I'm just concerned about how W7M's attack is going to be once they get there. So I just think, for me, it's important for them to be picking up these rounds on their defense as much as they can now. They're going to be going to Kitchen for their next site. Just having a look at this. So the Kaid being in there is a pretty good thing. That's going to require a bit more work, I suppose, from Black Dragons to be able to remove that off the wall. However, if you think about it, you know, let's say they electrify this wall down here that Panico's reinforcing now. By the time the Black Dragons have taken control of Office, which they will have to do anyway, they can just shoot that out from above. So it might not be too tall a task to get rid of the Electric Claw compared to in other scenarios. But hey, maybe it can at least waste a bit of time and resources.
And that's the key thing, really, for W7M here. Is they need to try and focus on wasting as much time as possible. That last round, whilst they were able to burn a good amount of the clock, it just wasn't enough. And there was a lot of things that it seemed Black Dragons found a few obstacles in dealing with. Think back to 2 nade kills coming in. You know, it's not easy attacking teams be that effective with the grenades where they're able to get 2 and really for no cost other than the nade itself. You know, it wasn't like they were getting themselves in harm's way for it. So kills that go untraded and utility that just isn't quite in the right spot. W7M maybe in for a bit of a rough one here today, but they're going to start off strong in this round. Ion, first to fall. Herds, right place, right time. Takes him out as Ion was just approaching up library stairs, it seems. Not really too much of a care in the world.
Is still being held onto here by Kai's. This is always the tricky place where Herds is playing because you're, you know, directly in that line of sight, a big window. You've got to be guarding onto that. You've got to hold on over to what's happening in Solar. A lot of different directions, but you can hear that breach being made into Office, and that's going to force them out somewhat. There's a red ping just in front of Live. He's getting the nade ready. He's going to remove the shield. Again, more pressure onto Herds. We're approaching the halfway point, so I'd say the Black Dragons are doing well for time.
Yep, time working in their favour. They've managed to grab a kill back as well now, which is really going to give them a little bit of an edge. There's a live ping for Live to work from. Herds picks his second up on the round and gets away with it briefly. They're ducking and diving into the next engagement. Eventually, Patoxy shuts him down as well. Advantage for the first time in this round goes over toward Black Dragons. They can start to work that vertical with around a minute left. That's going to be plenty of time. The hatch reinforced will be Electroclawed. Could make it a little bit more difficult to drop through. They're going to be more reliant on an approach through the stairway. And now need to be conscious that these angles are going to work both ways. And Panico, being inside of the site, may be in a position to take advantage of some of that. Patoxy holding on to the flank yet again. That hatch being reinforced is going to be a big factor here. It gives a lot of advantage toward W7M. Panico droned on out. Another drone on ping for him to take care of as well if he gets into position, but Live going to be making sure that that doesn't happen. Pre-fire shots do come in and Panico's chunked down somewhat. 15 seconds and someone needs to give. It's going to be W7M. Give a kill over toward Black Dragons and leave GDN with everything left. The diffuser is cold. This kill has to be found and it will. Live hits him with the 180. Realizes, yep, there is nobody there and I heard something behind me. Scrappy stuff, honestly. Black Dragons only a few seconds away from letting that one slip, especially given the position of that diffuser.
Well, they're 2 rounds up. They'll just thank their lucky stars on that one. Move on. Back to bar. Oh no, we're going to have a... This is going to be like a Team Liquid type situation, isn't it? No, not Team Liquid. NIP. NIP on Oregon.
Just 2 sites is all
just
it takes.
Just 2 sites. Alright, you know what? It's too early to say for sure. I'm just hoping that that's not the case. I'm assuming that it's more just W7M feel that they can right the wrongs that they made on round number 1. That's what I'm telling myself now, because if they NIP this, I'm leaving.
It's funny because you say it's too early to tell for sure, but we've both seen enough LATAM to know when something's amiss.
You just have to, because a lot of LATAM teams don't do that, and especially when they didn't win the second round, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if W7M had won that round we just had, maybe I'd get it a bit more, because that's usually when you see it. A team will be like, okay, we just needed our warm-up round. We had a pretty good round just then. Let's go back to the place we feel more prepared at. Cool.
If this was a good idea, they'd have done it in round 2. But they didn't. Because it wasn't a good idea for round 2. And I don't think it's a great idea for round 3.
Oh no. So that means we're never going to see Master, basically, is what you're saying. Or Snow, I guess, since teams have been going there.
It would be a shame, because this is a map where every site's really viable. And that's been proved this stage. So
yeah, with more teams going to the basement.
Exactly. So like if you do just see a team that's like, oh, 2 sites for us, that's all we need. You're just kind of like, why? But as you say, we'll reserve judgment on it until it actually happens. At the moment, we're just debating. I guess the big difference is the dock. if we're going to talk about reasons why they've come back here, Guy's on the dock this time. Did play and GDN's moved on to the smoke. I think he played Ella last time. So there are a couple of changes here that W7M have tried to ring in order to change their fortune on this map. But we'll have to see if they're going to be the big difference makers. I'm not sure that a dock is exactly what they needed.
It is a... Oh, no. I was going to say, it is a really interesting choice. And we'll get to find out, but... Panico dropping out kind of automatically puts this in a 5 versus 4. Oh, you know what that means, Ollie? It means that because they have the man disadvantage, if they lose this round, we're going back to one of these 2 sites.
We're going back. We got a good reason to go back.
Yeah.
Panico's given his team a great reason to go back to this site, but GDN, can he land the shot? No, he can't. Live was prone. How's Live got so deep into the site? I understand they're a man down, but still, that's pretty substantial. Guy shuts down Bassetto. With him the diffuser by the looks of it as well, but eventually Guy is downed himself. Now, he has been able to self-res, but he's self-resed into hell. 4 versus 1. Pre-firing his best, but he's not able to do all too much. Ion shuts him down from the window. Quick check for the frost map. You never know, honestly, on this map. You do never know if there's going to be a frost or not, so it's always worth checking. And Black Dragons pick up a fairly free round. Now, Panico did leave, but he has since rejoined, so fingers crossed, we're going to be good to go without a rehost.
Ollie, did you see that?
The Nook or the Frost?
Neither.
What?
Site.
Oh, here we go.
We're going to a 3rd site!
Well, that's a relief.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good. All right, I'm glad about that. I'm glad about that. That means that only NIP sit in the bad books. W7M, you have been absolved. We have exonerated you from your sins. You're no longer sinful. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to see this though, because it does get frustrating when teams get really caught up in that cycle of just going back to the same places over and over and hitting their heads against the wall. W7M, I think they need to have that opportunity to, you know, branch out, try the different sites, try the different ideas. They 6-picked off of that Tachanka to bring in Haid, I think. I'm just trying to remember who it was. I'm pretty sure it was Guy who was sitting on Tachanka and has decided to go for Kaid. On the other side of things, they switched off of the Nook and onto a Lion. So clearly really enjoying this Finka Lion combination, which cool. If you're Black Dragons, you've won the first 3 rounds. So don't know if you'd want to make any major changes anyway.
Yeah, I think Black Dragons are sitting pretty comfortable at the moment, aren't they? They don't need to try and reinvent the wheel here. They can just continue to do what they have been doing so far. Pressure more than on W7M to adapt and come up with new ideas. Ion making an approach here up the library stairs. He did get caught out previously when attempting this. A lot of pressure coming in onto the windows. Frost being employed this time by Panico could be something that catches a couple of the Black Dragons players off guard. It usually isn't a game of Chalet unless someone gets caught in a pog mat. Live opens things up, takes Herds down. That's the Echo gone, and with him the Yokais. Quite a significant loss of utility you're going to be looking really to make better use of in the later half of the round.
Prez getting that kill onto Kai is going to further weaken W7M, who still looking to find their first defensive win. He peeks out around the corner though, can bring Live down, so that's at least one attempt at evening things out. They've still got some way to go. E1D is just going to hold everybody still, but Guy wasn't really being pressured, so not too much of a burden on him.
He's still going to be holding inside a piano, and with Panico looking to make that flank up library stairs, but seems to have the inclination that there could be someone a little bit lower. That lower half of library is going to be droned out here and almost certainly pushed. There's a lot of different places that he could go, but he's currently being pinched. Black Dragon's wasting no time here for this one. Ion, He is going to fall as Panico will be successful. Can he find the second as well? This would be massive if he could. But Toxie hits him with a little bit of a crouch peek. Meanwhile, on the side, Basetto is the next player to fall. It's all square at 2 players per team. Perez still outside, needing to try and find that entry, but the entry he finds is to the camera as Guy sends him there. It leaves a lot of work for Patoxy to do here. He could probably recover the diffuser, but it's likely not even going to come to that. Fires are exchanged. The Toxic Babes are going to cut him off. Could go for a rotation outside, then in, but 15 seconds. Not a great deal of time to be making that happen. There is still information available for W7M. We can see that Herds is still in a camera somewhere, so at least this round, finally, W7M, they're going to pick one up.
Thanks to the clock, they actually managed to run the time down, pick up a round, and it came from going to a third site. So I'm just saying. I'm curious as to where they're going to go now. They're going to return back down to bar. They've decided that's, you know, they've tried that twice already. Okay, no, it will be kitchen. Which was where they went for their second round. Didn't win it, of course, but let's see what it is they go for here. We've had quite a few 6 picks, so I'm all right, everyone's locked in.
Well, at least we get a change of scenery, Gio.
Yeah, we do. So, I mean, because last time they came here, they were relying on that Kaid. But as soon as there was any pressure upstairs, really, once the office wall started getting breached, it just influenced W7M's positioning so much. No one stayed behind. No one tried to take on any fights. They moved well out of the way for Black Dragons. So they kind of didn't even need to be caught in any real engagements to have that kind of thing forced. Now, if you're Black Dragons, that's awesome. You know, it gives you so much free space to work with, which is exactly what they had. I would like to see W7M putting up more of a fight this time and making it harder for Black Dragons to actually take control of the top floor.
There's still enough time for W7M to claw this one back as well to a 3-3. You know, we're sitting on round 5 now. If they win here, it's 2-3. Next round, 3-3. There's a chance for this to be a favourable split, or at least a little bit more favourable than it started, but it is going to require a significant amount of work here. GDM playing close on the window. Nice drone position in here. Oh, won't get a shot out mid-air. Almost got clay pigeoned, but not quite. Toxie is going to be in position to assist that on the E1D scanner. He's already used one, which has rooted the player in place, and the second one comes in. Perez was chunked down, but the Tinker Boost gives him a little bit more life. The laser gates can be reactivated as Ion is shut down as well. How much impact is that going to have? There's still a fair ability to burn those laser gates. W7M know exactly where the push is coming from. GDN feeling that pinch. Toxic Babe canister will cut the players off for the meantime. Oh no! Live! You've only got to toss the nade through the window. The second one goes in, but it doesn't do as much damage as he'd have liked. And now I think it's going to be a change of approach. Black Dragons have almost exhausted every option there, Gio.
That is such a shame. That's so frustrating. W7M still can afford to hold on to these positions. We're at the 1 minute 10 mark and no one has been forced out. He holding there in piano. Oh, and Herd's getting pretty aggressive in office. He does finally bring Live down, but that was very messy. I was going to say that they at least could hold on to office. Would have liked for it to be cleaner, but a kill is a kill at the end of the day. Time is starting to run out. Now, Black Dragons look like they're going to be coming round this office side. Whether or not they're going to go for the breach straight away, I'm not sure, but maybe they think that this could be some easy kills to take. The answer, though, is no. Herds and Guy, they're ready. It's just Perez. Got to try and play on this door. gets the first. Still 3 more, Ollie.
Surely he can't. Still 20 seconds left. So it means that there's time. Baits the reload. Ooh, that was very nice indeed. He does land his shots eventually. I'm pretty sure that Perez baited the reload there. He kind of reloaded and then cancelled straight away, and we could see that we flicked into Guy's perspective and he immediately starts to pre-fire and swing. It gave all the information that Perez needed, but he was unable to land his shots. It was a tall order. It was a big ask. 1 versus 3. Never an easy situation to be in. And W7M seeming to get a better handle of their utility and how to use it there, Gio. Those laser gates, the ADSs, everything really worked quite well for them there. And Black Dragons, they just fell foul of burning everything and then not doing anything with that sort of burnt utility. You know, they didn't then take advantage and then start to push in. And, you know, GDN, he sits there, his ADSs regenerate, his laser gates regenerate, Herd shoots them and reactivates them. And it was a very, very nice hold from W7M.
I mean, it's almost a problem that we saw a couple of teams have back in the 20-second meta, right? Because so much of that was dominated by utility clearing that if you kind of screwed it up, or if you didn't know how to act off the back of clearing utility, then that was it. You weren't going to get the round. And sometimes you would just have teams that would get rid of what they needed to get rid of and then didn't really know how to take the first step after that. That's how it felt like with Black Dragons in that last round. That said, because of things like the dodgy nade and stuff, you know, you wonder if there was just an element of tilt or an element of frustration that came to play. It's kind of hard to maintain the momentum and the motivation that you need in a round if you're making really silly mistakes like that. So hopefully they've used the round switch as sort of a reset point. And come in kind of feeling better about this one, and maybe they'll find that their coordination improves as a result.
Well, we shall see if Black Dragons are able to come up with those alternate angles. We've seen them funnel themselves pretty regularly so far in this game. They've been ahead for the longest of times, but since W7M started expanding their sites, we've seen their fortunes change. Now we're back down into Baron Games, which is probably not where we want to be, if I'm being honest with you, Gio. W7M have struggled to win on this site. First round, they just got entirely taken out of it. Second time they attempted it, they did have a player disconnect. So there's an argument to say they would have won it if he was there, but they didn't. So making judgments off the information we've got, this is a fairly ill-advised choice for W7M to be picking this site.
Good information being passed on as well. Iron not quite being able to reach what he wants, but that's a really nice wallbang. The impacts come in. Iron is going to survive them. Throws out his own nade as well so they don't push up, and Bassetto's going to get going in with the plant. He's just chilling. He's fine. Guy gets a kill, but no one's going to stop him from putting that down, and suddenly it's a post plant.
How does Bassetto get the plant down in that instance? Like, Black Dragons have just been given the entire site and gone, yeah, just plant, it's fine. Now they've got one of the more difficult post plants to retake onto, and Ion demonstrates why it's so blooming hard. You can see the red pings coming in. A couple of taps is all it takes. That was almost Palu-esque, the way that he hits those couple of one-taps there. He actually found the last 2 kills inside of that kill cam. Impressive stuff from Black Dragons. Just shows if you give this team an opportunity, they will punish you dearly for it.
That was not the round that W7M were looking to close out that half in, or with, rather. Now we're heading into the next half. This is where I had some concerns about W7M just because of the way that we saw them play last week. Now, one thing we can at least see is that GDN not only is playing Thermite, but he's also locked in on Thermite. So there's not going to be any 6th picking or any of that nonsense. So, hard breaches being brought. That's good. They've also got the flank watch with the Nomad. That's great. They've got extra information with the Yana. They have some soft breach potential with Buck, which I don't know if that's going to be as big a deal on this site particularly as it would on other sites, just because we're playing on the top floor. And then you've also got your Finker as well. You've got a bunch of nades to come in, a bunch of flashes. I would say they have a well-rounded operator lineup here.
Four-two split for Black Dragons. It's fairly favourable. But as we've seen so far so often this stage, the opportunities really are here for the attackers, and maybe W7M now get a chance at that opportunity. I think it'd probably be fairly unfair to bundle the other game of Chalet that we had tonight into those statistics, Gio, given that it was so one-sided. But generally, we do see the attackers have a reasonable fare on this map. So, W7M initially all stacking up on New Balcony. Now, there's a Gon 6 in someone's hand, and I'm a little bit worried. We see the boost come in, and we see the flashbangs rain through. It's a push and a rush into sight. The plant is going down, but there's a C4 from below. It doesn't land onto GDN, though, and he's the one you really want to be targeting. And the plant has gone down in a very well-executed rush from W7M, but how long can they hold it for? C4 onto the window, GDN guarding the diffuser with his life. With no breach open, it's going to make it fairly difficult to rotate on in. It's a single doorway approach, and the kills keep coming up for W7M. Peroxy and Ion. They've got time. They've got 20 seconds, but what are they able to do with it? Can they find any meaningful kills here? Such a scrappy engagement, and it is going to end one way. W7M actually clean up all the kills as well as getting the plant down there.
Yeah, that was very messy at the end there. It was a really decisive plant too, and the fact that GDN was able to essentially defend that on his own for a little while, kind of confusing to me. Honestly, not the way that I expected that to go. So, I mean, good for W7M. They need to be putting the rounds on the board. Now they are just one away from evening out the scoreline, which is great if you're them. Black Dragons are going to be going down to the kitchen, so just one step below what they were playing on just now. I think this is where we're going to see herds on that buck become a lot more effective, of course, because once you can get into the upstairs sites, then you can start opening up those angles down into the kitchen and dining site itself. Now, Black Dragons, the question is their defense itself going to actually be better than it was in that first round? Usually, for any site on any map that isn't on the top floor, you have to at least split your defense because you need some people to be upstairs and some to be downstairs. Now, Black Dragons have picked certain operators that suggest they'll play off site, such as the Alibi on Proxy and Live on the Jaeger. But how well are they going to be able to set up a roam, especially if so many of their fights that they've been taking, these 1v1s, have been as scrappy as we have seen?
I like the bold approach from W7M. I don't think that it's something that they're going to consistently get away with here, but it now puts that element of doubt in Black Dragons in the back of their minds, knowing that there's potential for a rush on the cards. You know, W7M were 2 rounds behind. Now they're only 1 round behind. It's not an advantage that you want to let slip so lightly. Bit of early drone work going on inside a library. It's going to call it majority as clear. W7M, a team that are very keen to get into that big garage downstairs and use the book from below. A lot of angles that can be opened up. You can open up pretty much through into Solarium from that big garage downstairs if you've got the skeleton key and you stand on the appropriate boxes and car bonnets, etc. So tons of angles to be worked with, and it's something we've seen them do fairly consistently. And I guess another thing that really impressed me about the previous round, Gio, was their execution. Everything worked in very good harmony with one another. The Gon 6, there was flashbangs thrown, there was a Lion Scan or a Finker Boost, whichever it was, maybe both, that all came through at the same time. So that coordination's definitely there on W7M.
Definitely what you like to see. You can see all these dead things coming out here. They look to figure out where these players from Black Dragons are. Live's trying to peek around from the closet. It'll be Perez to get this kill, though, onto Kai's. And the new players for W7M, no longer a part of this round. Live being able to hold on to this closet for me is actually quite big. I think this is the arguably most pivotal and important part of the upstairs if you're trying to defend it. Just because of all the different angles you have from there, and that kill is certainly indicative of that. Bringing Guy down has been a big player for W7M so far today.
Unfortunate timing there for Perez. Gets caught full white flash. Live moves on through. Picks himself up 2. That's 3 on the round. Panico and GDM both fall in there. Herds. He has been on the skeleton key, trying to cause a little bit of damage, but with the diffuser on the other side of sight, regardless of the information that he's got, regardless of the pings that are available, it's always going to be a tricky one. Live comes in and collects him as well for, I believe, his 4th kill on the round. Certainly an impressive showing from Live as an individual. Good overall comms. We saw the Z pings working through there as well, so we know that information is and was flowing. Black Dragons regain that 2-round advantage that they had going into this half and take us downstairs into the basement.
I get so excited when we see the basement defenses. I feel like they just feel so novel. Just because they weren't popular previously at all. Oh, we do get treated to a 6-pick this round. What's going to be? A Rooney. Okay, there's no surprise there. Rooney is incredibly viable on this site just because of being able to hold off the doors. You can hold off the hatch as well. Some people like to jump down from there into wine. There are so many small, narrow choke points on this site. And this is why breaching is so important when you're playing on this site. Because if you can't do it, you have no choice but to take the choke points. And they're so incredibly hard because you can't... It's not even like you can just really walk in through a soft surface anywhere onto this site. You just have to go through a very small door frame. So... and puts a lot more pressure on the attackers if you're bringing something like an Aruni along too.
We see so much Aruni on this map as well that it really makes sense for Black Dragons to start to lean into all of that sort of meta. You know, they've got the Goyo shield. They're going to be really giving a lot of problems here for W7M to resolve, and it seems as though it's only something that we discuss if it's banned or really heavily played on Chalet. But where's the Flores? You know, you think about this map and you think about Flores and you think there's so many opportunities. Do you really need the the Twitch, the Lion, like all these sort of picks that you could get away with not bringing? For bringing a Flores, who's just going to give you so many more drones, so much more information, so much more ability to remove things. But it really is a bit of a Marmite thing for a lot of teams. They either love it or they hate it. They either use it or they don't. It's not something that they'll just dip their toe into occasionally. Especially, if they play it, they usually play it every single round on a particular site to do a particular job. We've not seen that so far from W7M. It's by no means the reason to their lack of success here so far, but it's something that's worth considering, especially in how long it's taken them to take this ground. A lot of stalemates in this game so far. Don't forget, it's being a defense onto that basement level. It's kind of unusual to see such a heavy top floor presence. It really does make you wonder how much there is that's going to be going into all of that. We see a couple of kills come in so far. So we've got an opening advantage here for Black Dragons.
Oh, and tons of these players from W7M going down again. It's all Guy on his own. He doesn't know where these players are. He gets one very messy kill, but is he going to be able to clean up with everybody else? Move out of the way. Let's just fight around. He's just holding this one guy off. Oh, now he's chasing him. I feel bad for Guy here. He's just on his own.
Well, an unfortunate round there for sure. We do see Black Dragons take that round and put themselves onto a match point here. A basement defense really didn't matter at all there, Gio.
No, not at all. Black Dragons already finding themselves on match point, which is kind of crazy. Going up to Master. Yeah, this is, I mean, I feel like W7M are really facing something quite hard at this point. And yeah, I mean, even just looking at it, you know, I mentioned before that Guy is a player who's been showing up a decent amount, not just in kills, but, you know, there have been certain moments like that, the plant that he got a little bit earlier. Herds has also done a decent job, but everyone else just hasn't really been there. And especially when I'm looking at a player like Kai's, for example, who... his role, I want him to be getting more kills. I want him to be finding more impact, and he's just been really struggling to do so.
And that's the shame. That's a big shame, isn't it? Because Kai's has been a player that's had big impact in previous games, and I think he's just not really activated inside of this one. Obviously, 1 and 8, not really the performance that you're looking for. The kills have been there from other people on the team. We look over toward Herds and Guy. They've had a reasonable amount between them, but still there has been a bit of a lack of kills overall, and certainly a lack of the distribution of kills on both sides so far. You know, we can say the same of Black Dragons. We look over at Basetto, 2 and 6. Again, a player that we've seen have pop-offs before, but it's been a fairly subdued game by all accounts, and I think that it really is not going to be a sort of fireworks and all sort of a big Hollywood finish for the winning team here. It's been a bit of a grind, honestly, for both Black Dragons and W7M. But we've still got a couple of rounds left, potentially. Black Dragons do sit on a match point here. Have the opportunity to close things out. Previously, when we saw this site, it was a very quick attempt at a rush from W7M. But obviously, they can't be going for that again. So instead, they're opting for the much more tried and true method of taking into those solarium stairs, and you'll notice they got Herds at the bottom in the big garage looking to make use of those vertical angles.
Again, we've seen Live play pretty decently here so far. He knows that this pressure is being applied onto the solarium windows. There's no one on the staircase. A lot of teams will like to play a defender also on the staircase, usually carrying a shotgun. They know that if anyone jumps in through the windows, then you can pretty much just trap them, but no one like that for Black Dragons. So it means that there's more onus on Live to get that sorted. Perez took a decent chunk of damage as well, and you can see they've pinged him out, so they know where he's playing. W7M just trying to get a decent scope of where all of these defenders are. Look in that little corner that Live has got himself into. Still for Perez, but Live's watching out onto the big window.
Ooh, Perez will be taken down there. A beautiful nade and a kill coming in from GDN. He was in the right place at the right time there. Toxic Babe canisters cutting Kai's off from making that rotation up Solarium. Live going to be holding on to the angle as well, as Black Dragons can dig themselves in and get ready to weather this next storm that will last only 35 seconds at most. It's all that's standing in between them and finishing off this game. Another kill going to be traded out as Kai's and Live both fall. GDN still on form here. He's picked up 2 so far. Has the diffuser and has 20 seconds to work with. Basetto, another unknown factor, keeping himself hidden away inside of the closet. Got the SMG out currently, but does have the option to pull the shotty out if required. GDN eventually is going to be shut down. Panico comes in 1-for-1 again. Guy makes that hop in on the way through. The diffuser picked up and now being planted, all in the same tick. Toxie, you've got to try and rotate on through. It's 1 versus 2. He picks up 1 and the second. The 2 players from W7M lined up. That is very unfortunate indeed. Already we got W7M leaving the lobby. They are not happy with that one, but Black Dragons take the win. They managed to get it over the line. Patoxy, those last 2 kills, beautiful stuff, my friend.
Oh my god, they lined themselves up perfectly as well. And you could see the panic he was in. He couldn't see where the diffuser was going down. He tried to shoot down in through the soft wall, thinking maybe they were right in front of him. Didn't see anything, and then they just both popped up. They could just line him up and knock him down. Man, that is a real feels bad if you're W7M, knowing the position you're in right now, trying to fight that relegation spot. That was pretty brutal, but a good victory for Black Dragons, who are a team that, even though we've seen some good things from in this stage, have not necessarily had the results to prove it on paper.
No, absolutely, and that's going to go a long way. We spoke at the start of the pre-game about how this was a big journey for both of these teams in terms of where they end up overall, and this was the start of potentially Black Dragons making it into playoffs, or the start of potentially W7M making it off that bottom place. And it was going to happen for one of the teams, Gio. It had to happen. Failing in overtime where the result would have meant a little bit less given the points. But Black Dragons, they were able to come away with the win there. Now, the sort of dark side of me kind of wants to see the reaction there from W7M. Like, I want to see what their camera's like.
You're such a sadist.
They all left. 3 players left before the winning screen. That's it doesn't bode well.
That's not a good sign.
It doesn't bode well at all. I know a couple of guys